Hello guys, it's Nika. So bear with me, my throat is a little bit raspy. Remember, I do live downtown Chicago, meaning that it went from 80 degrees to 30 and now I'm a little, but we'll get through it. So I just really needed to upload because I've seen so many pictures lately of half of Bryan's face next to half of Ted Bundy's face, and they look eerily similar. I mean, let's talk about similarities. Let's get them out of the way, okay? They both are tall. They both are quite slim. They both have dark hair. They both have their nose shape, actually. Their nose shape is quite similar. But to me, the thing that stood out the most was the eyes. There's something in the eyes that are just very, very similar. And I think it's a stare more so than the eyes. The very first time, between you and I, the very first time I saw BK, you know, on the news, my brain immediately went to Ted Bundy. I'm like, holy cannoli, these guys are like identical twins. He did it. He did it. That was like my instinct, because I have studied Ted Bundy quite heavily, because I do have 2 degrees in psychology. He's obviously very well known, Ted Bundy is. So my mind went, yep, it's making these relationships, right? It's like Ted Bundy, bad, crazy eyes. So then I see a guy that looks a lot like Ted Bundy, crazy eyes. Some of us like to call them. Yeah, he must be bad. It's like automatic. Obviously, I didn't do that, you know, slowly, but that's what my brain wanted to do. Our brain likes to categorize things. So I dug deeper. The only way to get rid of our own bias, because remember, we are judging somebody here, potentially for their life. Their life is literally on the line. So it's not a small thing, guys. This is serious. This means that you have to get rid of your bias. You have to get rid of emotion. You have to get rid of all that junk stuff that you've heard or that you've seen people comment on, as well as that internal noise. You can only look at the evidence. That is all. Because let me tell you, I have been judged before. I do get judged quite a bit because of how I look. And then people come to me months later and they're like, oh, we thought you were XYZ. And turns out you're this other way. So they're often wrong, but I would classify myself, as I have in the video before, a very intense person. You know, my look, you know, my dark hair, my eyes. I also have a very intense stare, especially when somebody's talking to me in person. ADHD, okay? So I hyper focus when I'm really trying to learn something or I'm really listening to you. So some people find that creepy, and it is what it is. But again, we have to get rid of our bias. So I dug deeper. I'm like, are there any other similarities between Ted and Bryan besides the physical? And it turns out that yes, they both studied psychology, right? They both have a psych background. So that was it. That's all I could really find. Oh, and their birthdays are both in November, but most serial killers, turns out that apparently are born in November. I don't know why. Maybe it's the weather. I don't know. It is what it is. But digging even deeper, completely different, okay? Ted was born in a house with violence and confusion. He had no idea that his biological mother was actually who he thought was his sister. And he never found out who his father was. And when he found out that his biological mother, you know, who he had been led to believe was his sister, he found out by finding a birth certificate. So it's not like somebody gave him the talk. It was by accident. So imagine you're like a teenage boy, and this is how you find out that your sister's actually your mother, and that later on, maybe there are rumors in the town saying that your actual father may be your grandfather. Not only that, but you're growing up with a grandfather who's abusive towards you every time he comes home when there's alcohol involved. And he's abusive to the women in the household as well. That's just a messed up childhood. You know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And then when I look at Bryan's childhood, it was normal. I mean, he had friends when he was a child, And his family and everybody that was interviewed says his family is normal, you know, has sisters. They all got along great. Great mom, great dad, both hardworking, same educated sisters. They all went to university. I believe one's a therapist. So, I mean, where are these similarities that would supposedly make him you know, an unaliver? I have to use that because of the algorithm. It's so dumb. What really points to that? I'm not saying a person can't be in a normal household with normal parents, a healthy relationships, and not be an unaliver. But I'm saying that when you are born in a home with violence, you're way more likely to commit violent crimes. You're way more likely to be in a situation that causes your brain to potentially develop even personality disorders. So it doesn't sound like Bryan had this. Now, I do believe that Bryan suffered potentially from depression, because there were some posts that were read saying that he was, you know, basically depressed. He's basically describing depression, which led him to drug use. And I think it was because of the depression. If a lot of people that are depressed will lead to, or will go and find something to make them feel something, or to make them not feel depressed. So I do think he had depression, but most people with depression usually injure themselves. Very rarely, if ever, go out and hurt somebody else. Okay, if you're depressed, you're not even thinking about other people. Most of the time, you're focused on your own pain and how to end it. So for those of you, if you have ever been around anybody with depression, you know what I'm talking about. These people aren't thinking, I'm going to take everyone out with me because I'm depressed. They're just not. And I think the fact that the media is saying, oh, he was depressed and this is why he wanted to do it, just lets me know that society has no understanding of what depression is actually like. And it also hurts people who actually have depression, right? Who have actual depression, because then there's this picture that's painted in the media and the news that people with depression might take somebody else out. And I don't think that's something we have to be usually concerned about. Usually the people causing chaos in the world are usually people who grew up in broken homes. So it's crazy to me how people are so easy. They just jump to conclusions, right? Because of how somebody looks. And again, I'm not saying BK did it or didn't do it. That is I have my own opinion on that, and I'm going to keep it to myself. But what bothers me the most is that quickly, without evidence, I mean actual evidence, people are just jumping to conclusions. And I understand, because my brain did that. Like I said, when I first watched the news clip, my first instinct was, yeah, he did it. And I didn't say it out loud, but my brain said it. And I immediately knew, yeah, that is not okay. What are you doing? You have 2 degrees in psychology, 4.0. I'm aware this is bias. So I immediately shut it down. But most people are not aware of their biases, right? So just remember, whenever you or your brain jump to a conclusion like that, remember you have to stop yourself and actually think and look at the evidence. Not what you're feeling in the moment. I just get this feeling that this person's weird. Okay, because our emotions and those gut feelings, I know there's this myth out there that your gut is always right. No, it is not, honey. It is not, okay? Do not go by your gut feelings when somebody's life is on the line. I don't care how your gut feels. in this case, in any case, somebody is being judged this harshly, this in depth, and the consequences may be potentially so severe. And because somebody like whoever, I just feel it in my gut, you know, I feel like this person's a bad person. They just look evil. I've been told I look evil. Is it the eyes? Maybe. Is it the hair? Maybe. Is it my demeanor? I'm not evil. I don't think I'm evil. I think I care about my family, my community, my colleagues, and they know that, right? They know that now. But again, some people are just we just come across very intensely, and that doesn't mean we're evil. So, yeah, stop judging people by your emotions. Use your brain. And the more I dig into this case, the more confused I become and almost afraid, because I believe in our Bill of Rights. I believe in our Constitution. And although it doesn't always play out like that in the real world, what I'm finding by reading all the legal documents, and I mean legal documents, I don't watch other people's YouTube channels, so I don't know what other people have to say, but I'm actually going and pulling these 600 plus page reports. And the names that I'm finding on the reports and my own research that I'm doing, the more I think we really need to break this case down, because I think there's something that we're not being told. And I would hate to know that somebody might be wrongfully accused for just a pure evil purpose. And it's scary, right? When you start following the money. And at first I didn't know where this case was going. But the more I follow the money, the more it's starting to make sense. And I hope, part of me hopes that I'm wrong. Because if I'm right on all this stuff that I'm reading, we have a big problem, you guys. And corruption is real. I've lived in third world countries, okay, where people know that the countries are corrupt. But to see potentially, in my opinion, that level of corruption is disturbing. It's gut-wrenching. Again, I hope that I'm wrong. I am not a detective. Yes, I have a scientific background. Yes, I have 2 psych degrees. I have a science degree also. But at the end of the day, it's still my opinion, right? So keep that in mind. Do your own research. If you guys find anything crazy in like a legal document out there, there's so much that's out there available to us to actually do our own research. So if you find something out there, let me know. I don't care what somebody else posted on YouTube. Again, I don't really have time to watch other people's YouTube. I work about 80-hour weeks, and I'm squeezing this in here because I care about fairness. I care about truth, and I care about our legal system being transparent. Okay, so we will keep, I will try to keep my hopes high and hope that nothing crazy such as BK being framed for financial reasons, because although it sounds crazy, it happens so much. So I hope I'm wrong. Because if I'm right, we have a big issue. And to solve that issue, how do we even start? So thank you for listening to me. This has been weighing so heavily on my mind. And yeah, we'll see what happens.